From Austin, Texas to Essex, England, once again with a little stop in Houston, Texas as well. This is the Armchair Apex podcast, formerly the Slipstream podcast. Did we rebrand? Yes. Is there a Slipstream anymore in the season? No, because we got new cars, we've got new regulations, we've got new drivers, we've got one race under our belt, and that's when we're starting this podcast. Other podcasts are going to start before the race. They're going to start before, after preseason testing. They're shooting in the dark, all right? They're shooting at a ghost. You don't know what's going on. Don't make your predictions then. We're going to make our predictions now after one race, and we'll do that later on in the show. For now, I'm joined with James Lingy12 Lingfield, and we got a new host, a new co-host here, Mr. Aaron Morphew. Say hi to the people. Aaron, how you doing?
Very well. Very happy to be here. I look forward to joining you guys to go through this season and to stand for Valtteri Bottas.
Valtteri, yes. He is our official Valtteri Bottas stand while wearing a Williams shirt, which I guess he started his career there, so it makes sense in some form. So Aaron's going to be joining us for this season. We're going to have a lot of fun, and let's get right to it, guys, because there's a lot of stuff to go off of. We've got one race under our belt. We've got new cars. We've got pretty much just a massive cluster of punches to the face to address and process. So I don't know, guys, right off the bat, what do we like for favorite liveries? Well, who's our favorite livery? Out of the gate, watching the reveals over the last couple of months, what do we like?
I think it's really hard to bet against the Aston. I mean, even last year it was cool, but I think the dark greens are more luminescent, and that bright green really pops. And I think that adds so much to the livery.
Yeah, I like that one too. It's like a deep sea dive in an emerald lagoon with a car, instead of fins, instead of swimming fins. Aaron, what about you? What do you like?
See, I right out of the gate, I was really into the AlphaTauri's livery, but once I saw the Aston and FP1 under the actual sun, I was converted.
Yeah. So we're going two Astons. Favorite paint job. I'm gonna go Ferrari. It was just that might be the sexiest car I've ever seen in my entire life, and I called it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I called it. As soon as I saw the Ferrari, I was like, this is gonna be the car that wins because it looks the fastest, and for whatever reason, that's usually the case. Whatever car looks the fastest is the one that's the fastest. I think more teams should just start doing that. Be like, how do we make a car that looks fast? And then maybe it'll just follow after that. I don't know if the aerodynamicists and the engineers really do it like that, but I feel like that could be a role where they're just like, how do we make it look fast?
Well, this is the first time since the turbo hybrid era that they've actually looked like race cars.
Yeah, kind of true. You ever watch the 2014 season and you're just like, these aren't loud. Why are they not loud? What's
hybrid powered weather vanes?
Hybrid weather balloons. Let's just switch to weather balloon racing. Man, yeah, they're looking good. I like the Alpha too. I like the Alfa Romeo. I like the classic logo on the side. Looks cool. I like the wheel covers. I was partial to the Williams too. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it looked faster than it might be this season, which that's kind of a disappointment, I thought they were going to be kind of where Haas and Alfa Romeo are right now, which is that's threw me for a loop. So we'll get on to that later in the season. What about the worst ones, ugliest?
Well, I think it makes you realize that people actually have no idea what they're talking about, because when I saw the Alpine or the Williams, I was like, oh, what the hell's that? But when you actually see it on track, it looks quite nice. I think particularly that Williams from the front looks sort of sharky. If that's what we 5 minutes into the podcast, I'm inventing my own adjective, sharky. They all look quite nice. I'd say maybe if I had to pick a least favourite, I think probably the McLaren. It's very fitting they brought out the Lego version because the actual McLaren car looks more like a Lego car than the Lego car. And it probably drives like one too, but that's a topic later in the podcast.
Oh man, it's so depressing watching them just be last. You're just like, what? Why? It looks cool. Make it be as fast as it looks. But I don't know, man. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of problems. Everybody's got a new car. That's the amazing thing about this season is everybody's got a new car. Nobody really knows what to do with it. But I think we're really seeing the effects of the limits of those wind tunnel times, testing times on the teams, because the teams that got more are just kind of have, at least in Ferrari's case, have a little bit more to work off of. You can tell that they were just like, yeah, Haas had 80,000 hours of wind tunnel time because they've been last since the Reagan administration. So like, and so they had so they came out with, they're like, yeah, our car kicks ass. And then Mercedes is just like, ours kind of bounces like an ejection seat. So we don't know what to do right now. George Russell's in there just like a bobblehead, and that's tough to watch. But he's got a big head though. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's kind of adding to it. He looks like a Family Guy character almost. Like George Russell looks like he could be.
Hey, Lois, I'm driving from Mercedes.
he just like looks. He's like a head on a stick, which is like, if I was his stature, I would still have it because I've got a big head too. So I sympathize with that. But man, a lot of stuff to get to this season. This is just wild. We were gonna try to do like a preseason thing, but we all got jobs and we all got lives, so we were just like, we're gonna try to do it, but we're doing it a season after one episode, and you're just gonna have to live with it. The audience, you're just gonna live with it. You're gonna be happy because we're gonna tell you to be happy, and that's how we do things on the Armchair Apex podcast. We tell you what you like, and then you like it, and then that's how things go. Man, we got new regulations too. We've got new regulations. We've got a new steward format. Man, some of the new regs are pretty wild. My favorite is kind of the new no Q2 tire rule. So I kind of like that. We saw that this weekend in Bahrain. Everybody starting on the softs except for two. Forget what team that was. I think McLaren started on the mediums, right? So they just went.
Yeah, that went well.
Yeah, we saw how well that one went.
It's important to note though that the compounds were shifted to the hardest, so the soft this time around would be more akin to the medium, moving over to some of the other tracks. Yeah,
that's right.
But then I think it was interesting last year. Cars would almost never run the soft in the race of their own volition. I know I spoke about it last season with you, Andrew, sort of make softs great again. And it was good to see people bolting on the softs and going for pace. Because I think where the tyres before would wear that bit more, the medium was always the better race tyre.
Yeah.
I must say, I was wrong about the Q2 tyre rule. I really didn't like it when it was first brought in. But I think it is going to switch things up. I was just curious if either of you two knew, when does like the reveal come? Like, do you have to lock in your tyre choice to the FIA? Or is it like a good, the bad, and the ugly situation of whipping the blankets off as late as you can?
That's something they brought up in the broadcast, that it didn't seem like there was very much clarity from them, because they had Sam Collins on the grid walking around and he was like trying to peek into people's tire blankets. So it doesn't seem like it's information that's at least being released to us, the fans.
Yeah, make it as chaotic as possible. That's what I err on. Anything that makes it as chaotic as possible, that's what I want to see.
Well, these new tire regs are definitely doing that.
Unleash the chaos, baby. Yeah, let's do it. Frozen power units. Current hybrid power units have now been a part of Formula One for 8 years, and in that time, some incredible development has taken place. But with the new set of power unit regulations currently being finalized, this is from F1, Formula1.com, by the way, by the different manufacturers for a 2026 hybrid engine. It looks like an agreement was reached to freeze power units from 2022 onwards as focus moves to the future. So we've got engine locks on these power units. And that's like kind of like off the bat, one of the biggest regulation changes for this season. It's going to be interesting to see what these teams are going to be doing, especially with the e-fuels and stuff like that. They've got to design these engines around these fuel regs. And we saw that this weekend with Red Bull. Just running out of gas apparently, or just like not having a good fuel pump system at the last minute because they kind of had to switch it up. So that was cool. Actually, I enjoyed seeing them both drop out. To be honest with you, it was pretty funny just because they just thought they had it in the bag, and no, they don't. So we'll see.
It's actually come out just recently that it wasn't actually the fuel pump, because if it had been the fuel pump, there would have been several other cars having issues with it, because the fuel pump's actually it's a standardized part this year. So all teams are running the exact same fuel pump, but it was pointed out immediately prior to the race that there were some issues with it. So Red Bull immediately after the race pointing the finger at the standardized part that's the fuel pump is the most Red Bull thing of all time.
That comes from Italy, by the way. The fuel pump is from Italy. So if any of you conspiracy theorists are out there,
well, it'll work right into the Ferrari used Haas's wind tunnel time to build both cars. Conspiracy theory. There's only so many bars in Maranello, right?
That's crazy. So what was it? I get maybe a tank design, because it definitely sounded like it was some sort of fuel issue. Maybe it's the way they designed their tanks. That's definitely custom to their car. AlphaTauri caught on fire, but that was apparently an isolated issue. But
There's
both
an
Red Bull
MGU
cutting outs.
H issue.
Yeah, the old battery system that I don't know what it does, but it does. It makes it like, I don't know. It's magic. I'm not sure how it does that, but it does it. So, but it caught on fire.
Definitely, I was pretty stoked to see them both have, like, all three Honda powered cars have issues, especially after all of the stink that they raised about freezing the engines, saying that they needed time to catch up because they were going to be a new producer. Honda's leaving, Honda's back. It's all been a bit nonsensical. So them having engine issues out of the gate, I was okay with.
It already, a double DNF has already given Ferrari like a significant advantage in the constructors. If it is going to end up those two as the two fighting, what was that? 40 odd points that's just been gifted to Ferrari. That's something Red Bull can't afford to do. You can have the fastest race car in the world, but going back to sort of the end of the decade last year, if you're not finishing, they've got no chance. And that Ferrari all through testing, the engine looked really reliable. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, it really was.
Well, I think that, like, what I found super interesting is that the terminal engine issue isn't the only thing that Max was actually dealing with there. So the Jackman dropped the car and actually broke or damaged his front steering assembly. So he was actually saying that the power steering had a lag in response.
Oh no. And it was actually,
and can you imagine barreling down that front straight going into turn one, and then you turn the wheel and a second later you actually start turning?
No, I can't. I would poop myself is what I would do.
Well, I also it's particularly funny that this is not the first time the Red Bull was dropped over the last couple of weeks. Apparently, this is a common issue with them now. If you look online, there's actually some videos of it hitting the ground with no rear tires.
Oh, that's. Hey, let's put those on first. Hey guys, let's remember the tires first if we can. If we could do that. Those guys make like $150,000 a year too, for just like lifting and dropping a jack. Which, sign me up. How do I do that? Is there a farm system for that? I guess you got to. How do you get to that level of just like, yeah, I do the jacks for the cars, and there's also a guy that does, like, he holds the fire extinguisher, makes like $75,000 a year to hold a fire extinguisher. So, no excuses for these actually, these guys are like under so much stress. 23 races. There was some sort of video that came out about like how hard these guys are working with the expanded calendar. It's just like, oh, okay, well, I guess it makes sense they're getting paid so much. So speaking of that, new tire regulations. First change is that a rule that relates to the tire blankets that teams use to heat the tires when in the garage. Previously, the front tires could be heated to 100 degrees, but that drops to 70 degrees Celsius from 22 onwards, while the rears were at 80 degrees Celsius and now dropped to 70 degrees Celsius. And then they've got, so basically they're just going out with colder tires now. We saw that in real time with Lewis going out on those hards, and I feel like that might have played into it, with just going out on just like much colder hard tires, and then just looking like he was like slipping in the shower out of the pit lane, which was, I was like, oh, okay, wow, all right, Lewis, let's rein it in here. So yeah, we're already seeing the effects of that. I thought I was going to see more wheel covers. Honestly, it's crazy how many wheel covers I don't see with these enlarged tires. But yeah. Upshot is a colder tire when leaving the pits, and a different approach needed from drivers on their out laps, as well as a new approach to the tire compounds from Pirelli. This is part of F1's ongoing sustainability program with less heating, meaning a lower carbon footprint. Okay.
I understand sort of the idea of the lower carbon footprint. Firstly, surely when you've got 20 high performance race cars go around the track, having essentially an electric blanket that I have on my bed surely cannot add that much. And I do worry about safety. I mean, coming out of the pits is a key part of the race, to execute an overcut or an undercut. So it's the part where you have to push. And I think something's going to end in tears, particularly some of these really fast pit exits, like Silverstone's really fast. I mean, Spa, like you come out of the pits and go up Eau Rouge. That's got to end in tears, you'd imagine.
Yeah, it would. Aaron, what do you think?
I'm with you, James, that like it seems like we're being a little gaslit with the wording that they use about why they changed the temperature. Like if you want chaos, just say so. I'm totally here for it.
Yeah, don't do it under the guise of like a lower carbon footprint. You're racing 20 cars and like traveling across the world using like super oil conglomerates money to do this.
Ban private jets
and
like
private
the
jets.
electric blankets.
What are we doing? Okay, lower
guys.
carbon footprint. Cool. Yeah, that's yeah. I'm sure that's what we're doing here. Just build. Let's do the same carbon footprint. Actually, let's go back to the carbon footprint from 2008, and let's do that. And then let's take all the carbon you use and just like turn it into forests around every track. How about that? We'll just feed some plants, with the carbon that we're using, and then we'll do it that way. We'll go Ferngully style. We'll just build some rainforests around every track. Every desert track,
the Earth car.
Yeah, every desert track turns into an oasis. You've got lagoons and whatnot. Aston Martin could do something with their livery and like a green lagoon. There's endless possibilities. Bring back refueling. Let's bring back refueling, guys. Let's do it. What are we doing?
Let's have the Indiana Jones Grand Prix through just like the thickest jungle ever.
Yeah, essentially. Let's make it Cruise in USA, basically. But like Cruise in Europe. Or Cruise in the Middle East. And you just go through like 80 different terrains, man. But I guess you got to throw out that messaging at some point with these huge companies. I don't know why. I just feel like people understand what's going on. I don't know who's like watching this and being like, oh yeah, they are doing a low car. Like who are the people reading this and being like, oh yeah, that is the reason why. I guess they're really virtuous. I guess this company using tobacco and oil money for every race and international hotels. They're really virtuous. So it's just like, okay.
Well, a lot of my other friends have been converted to Formula One fans now that they've lowered their carbon footprint with those tire blankets. They had a moral objection to it.
Yeah, my mum bought a Prius and now she's reserve driver for AlphaTauri. That's just how it works.
They just hired on. Well, Aaron was, as all of three of us, we are doing this podcast because we are former Formula One drivers. We all did do that. I did a quick stint as a reserve driver for Toyota in the mid 2000s, and also Nigel Mansell's stunt double for a biopic about him that was produced in 2007 by Lifetime. Even though I didn't have this mustache back then, they still wanted me for it. So that's just a projection of what I would like to do now. Hey. You making a Nigel Mansell movie? You know who to hire, baby. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you just got to inject kind of. Well, I feel like that's a discussion for another day. And we should probably delve into that some. Just like how the posturing and the wording and the marketing with some of this stuff and how it plays onto reality, because that's always interesting. This dog thinks he's going outside, but he's not. He's stuck in here for this recording. So. But I don't know. You're
terrifying. Wow.
Yeah, he's fine. He's doing good. He'll try to eat the cat food, and then I'll have to throw a shoe at him or something. But anyway, on to Bahrain. Actually, no. First, let's cover something real quick, which is interesting. Of course, we know that Michael Massey is out as race director, but we also have, in addition to a new race director, we've got a new virtual race control room that is happening. And this struck me as an interesting change to the regulations from therace.com. In addition to replacing Massey, FIA President Mohammed bin Salim has announced further changes to reinforce F1's officiating in a presentation entitled A New Step Forward in Formula One Refereeing. New virtual race control room will be created that has been likened to football's video assistant referee, which will assist the race director in making decisions. They say football there. I think they mean American soccer, but also they could mean American football because the NFL, I believe the NFL does the same thing as too. And in addition to other sports, I think a lot of major league sports are doing that right now. But just to finish off this little paragraph, as expected, direct radio communications with the race director during the race will not be broadcast, and team bosses will not be able to interfere in order to protect the race director from any pressure and allow him to take decisions peacefully. It will still be possible to ask questions to the race director, the FIA says, according to a well-defined and non-intrusive process, likely to be that team managers can speak to an intermediate body in race control before liaising with the race director if necessary. So along with, I don't think they're going to have any more broadcast conversations between the team principals and the race control. I didn't like that anyway. I thought that was a little cheesy.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be this new room. What do you think? Do you guys think there's going to be any sort of like uptick in the competency of these decisions, or at least are they going to be more decisive? Do you think that played into anything this weekend necessarily? What are y'all's thoughts on this initially?
I 100% think it played into this weekend. The race director, I'm purposely not going to learn their names because I don't feel like I should know the race director's name because I watched the race, not the officiating.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see how long I can go without knowing either of these guys' names.
Yeah, that's a great call, actually. I think I'm going to do that. I don't know his name yet either. James, do you know the name of the guy?
Well, their names aren't there. Don't they?
Yeah, there's two. It's two
guys,
it's alternating guys. Yeah,
but I haven't got a clue, and that I think is a good sign.
Let's keep it that way. But it did seem as though the drivers were far more cognizant of the not crossing the white line and not driving erratically for fear of there being, a more fitting penalty. Because from what I understand, the new race directors are just no nonsense. They're just like, these are black and white rules. Obviously we saw some instances in qualifying where people were going all four tires past the white line, but they obviously weren't gaining an advantage. So they weren't penalized.
Yeah, not at all. But there was did Ocon get penalized for the thing with
punting Schumacher? Yes.
For Mick, he punted. That was a love tap.
He just made a poor decision driving. Ocon after the race even said that was 100% my fault.
Yeah.
But the cool part about it was, did you guys see how smooth Mick caught it and continued to go? He almost didn't even lose the place.
Yeah. He really didn't. Cool. That was he actually almost 360'd and then kept the same speed for whatever reason.
Yes.
Like it was wild. I don't think I've even done that in Mario Kart before. Just drive like I've never been able to just do that in Mario Kart and Super Nintendo. Just been like, 360 and I keep going. So, but I feel like that's part of, we were talking about this the other day in the text thread. I feel like that's part of being drivers at these levels too, is where like you can just spin going 100 miles an hour and still be able to just be like, all right, we're fine. And I corrected it and we're cool. So also he's a Schumacher. So, I don't think he's unlocked 10% of his power by now. 2027 world champion, maybe. We will see. On to Bahrain. Let's talk Bahrain. Crazy first race of the season. Ferrari won two Red Bulls out. Lewis Hamilton pulling out a podium with that porpoise of a car they got, and still managed to make it happen. We saw Kevin Magnussen qualify up there alongside Valtteri Bottas. We had a Hamilton Magnussen battle happen at one point. Just wild and crazy rides all throughout. I don't know. Initial thoughts. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it's set up. I came away from Bahrain last year with Max and Lewis being so close. I thought that's the title fight for the season. And I get very much the same feeling here. I think Carlos is a very good driver. I think he admitted he had a tough weekend, and Checo as well is a good driver. But I think Max and Charles, their teammates, are nowhere near the level that they are. They're both young. They're both hungry. Max spoke in the preseason about still having that hunger to win a world title again, but not having that desperation anymore. And I think that maybe explains some of his driving decisions last season. And I wonder now if we'll see that situation flipped, where Max is the one who's been there, done that, doesn't have to take the risks, and it will be Charles who's making the lunges and pushing him wide or anything. Or Charles just win all 22 races this season and we'll get bored of Ferrari like we did in the mid-2000s, I guess.
What do you think, Aaron?
I think that the biggest takeaway from this first race is that the new regulations are doing what they wanted.
Yeah.
We're seeing considerably closer racing, and we're seeing more strategy having to, like, when was the last time you saw a 3-stop race, like that, an intentional 3-stop race?
2012.
So, I mean, like, yeah, people were planning for 3 stops here. I think that's so exciting. The 3 or 4 laps that Char was allowing Max to pass him going into turn 1 and just taking it back at 4 was just like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. It was pretty wild seeing 3 stops. I was like, what is this? 2012, 2013? It was crazy. We're going to see definitely a battle between Leclerc and Max. I want to see it between Sainz too. I want Sainz to throw in. I want him to get a handle on this car. I think he's a better driver than what he showed this weekend. And even with the weekend that he had, which wasn't even that good, he was still pulling a P2 in qualifying, and then in the race, and then I believe he qualified P3, right? So it was like a Ferrari 1-3 on the grid, and so they lined up. I want to see him battle with Leclerc more. I think he's a driver that can do it. I think he might just have that. He might just be a bit smoother, rounded driver than Leclerc is. I think, James, what you were saying about Leclerc being hungry this season, like Max was last season, is going to play to his advantage a lot. I think Max is still going to be. I don't think the driving is going to between Leclerc and Max is going to be as dirty as it was between Hamilton and Verstappen at all. I just don't think that rivalry is the same. I think Leclerc and Max, for whatever reason, are going to battle a lot, but I don't know if it's going to be as testy as it was last season for whatever reason. And partially because of the cars we have now, where I don't know if just because they don't have a handle on these cars like they did last year, where it's just like they could rocket through these corners and know that the downforce is there. They just don't have that anymore. So, Aaron, what you were saying about the regulations doing what they're needing to, I think absolutely. I think that's going to also result in cleaner racing too. You're just not going to see Max just diving into the turn 1 of Monza and just like, hey, I'm on top of you now. Deal with it.
No one has the car control that they did previously.
No.
Like I wanted to make a super cut of all of the lockups that happened during that race.
Oh yeah. 87.
It would be I feel like every driver locked up at some point.
Yeah. The 87 lockups. Kevin Magnussen. Let's talk about him real quick.
Wow.
What a return. He wasn't even expecting to do this 2 weeks ago. And now he came back with, where did he finish? P5, Kevin Magnussen. First points finish for Ferrari, or excuse me, a Haas in 2 years, right? I believe it's like 2019 or 2018, the last time they scored any points. He scored more points in one race than they have in the last 2 years. Is it the car? Is it him? Is it both? I want to say it's both. Is he going to drag Mick Schumer, like he's Amy Schumer's kid, Mick Schumacher up? Amy Schumer's son, Mick Schumer, a Formula One driver. Is he going to drive him up the grid? I think that's going to be one of the most beautiful things about this partnership too, is you've got not only a driver that's just going to be a better influence on the entire team, because he's just not a spoiled brat yelling at everyone because he sucks. You've got a teammate that's going to pull Mick Schumacher up with his inexperience and be able to show him things that maybe he wasn't aware of, that another rookie's not going to be able to do, because it's just two rookies fighting out on track. It's just not going to do well. And so, what do you guys think about that partnership and his performance overall this weekend?
Well, you make that point about like the experienced driver bringing the younger driver up the grid. But I think if you look across the grid, at times we've had that this year or the past few years, it hasn't normally worked out for the younger driver. Antonio Giovinazzi and Kimi Räikkönen didn't really help him out. You had Checo and Stroll, and now Checo and Vettel. Vettel and Stroll. And you said it might put him out the grid. I wonder if it would almost put him out of F1. Because last season he had no challenge, really. He beat Nikita Mazepin, as honestly probably I would if you gave me 10 minutes in that car. But, Kevin Magnussen's a good driver, but he's not any sort of generational talent.
No.
And if you are a second behind your teammate, then you start to question how good really are you, And then you could imagine where Kevin has a great season that we know he can have, and Mick has a really poor one, and Mick could almost be in trouble at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I think he could be in trouble by the end of the year. I think he's going to outperform Magnussen this year. No. But I don't know if he's going to, I think his pedigree is too good. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for his name, that his pedigree is too good. Sadly, he doesn't have his dad here to alongside him, which, dude, watching that Schumacher documentary at the end just got me so good, man. Because I was like, you just want to see, Michael there alongside him, just kind of like, hey, do this, do that, and you just want to see that so bad as a race fan. But I think his talent is pretty understated. It has been pretty understated. I think we'll see. We'll have to see. I don't think he's going to be in trouble though, in the least.
I honestly don't think that this first race was representative of where anyone's going to be.
No.
At the end of the season, much less a few races from now.
No. But it does give us a little bit more to go off of. That's why I like the idea of doing the predictions. Let's do one race. We'll see.
While I don't think that Ferrari and Haas are, because I feel like it's not really a secret that everyone's talking about how Ferrari helped Haas develop their car this year, and obviously part of why they're so far up the grid. One, I'm thinking about the meme of the dominoes being pushed over, where it's like the Soviet Union falling, and then it shows Magnussen scoring P5 at the end of the dominoes. But I don't think it's any secret that Ferrari's had a hand in the development of this car, and I don't think that they're going to get nerfed, but I think the rest of the field is going to catch up to what they've done.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a valid battle. I think that Mick Schumacher will score some points, but I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Kevin Magnussen. I just don't think that they're going to be battling at the front.
How dare you? How dare you disrespect Kevin Mag? How dare you disrespect the Mag? All right. We will have none of that on this podcast. If there's anything we're not going to stand for on the Armchair Apex podcast, it is the blaspheming of one Kevin Magnussen, the prodigal son of Gunther Steiner, who's returned for the season. How dare you? How dare you, Aaron? Come on.
The biggest losers this week, it's not McLaren, it's not Red Bull, it's Drive to Survive, because they used to get away with their yearly Drive to Survive episode of Haas being terrible, and everyone would laugh at Gunther Steiner swearing. But now it's just say, good time of season, yeah, really good. Kevin and Meek did really good job. We are World Drivers Champion, and I'm a bit more Arnold Schwarzenegger than I am Gunther Steiner. But aside from that, you get my point.
Drive it in. Oh yeah. What we will have on this podcast is plenty of blaspheming of Netflix. Let's lambast Netflix as much as possible. All right. They put out a movie recently, slightly off topic, but they put out a movie recently about head coach of the New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton, right? Pretty scrappy dude. He's about your stature. Maybe he's between mine and your stature. He's not a large man by any stretch of the imagination, but he was played by Kevin James. All right. And Kevin James sued. Yeah. And Kevin James didn't lose any weight for it. Okay. Hey, Netflix, are you even trying? Okay. So you're going to basically create drama from drivers that have no rivalries at all. And then you're going to make a movie about Sean Payton with Kevin James. What's going on, Netflix? So yeah, I think the big loser is, loser for the entire season, Drive to Survive. That's what I think.
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. They're going to have 3 episodes about the fall of McLaren, and they'll be doing perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But then they'll try and pick up Daniel Ricciardo's inevitable PA in Canada as some massive achievement.
Yeah.
And then we're meant to feel happy for it.
Mazepin unlapping himself in the Russia episode and like them like cutting to the team cheering was so good. I just knew when the sky is gray, it's gonna rain. I grew up here.
Good job, man. I lived here. Thanks. How are you doing? He's like, cuts to him. He's like, oh, I'm so busy. Yeah, man, I'm sure you're so busy there with your getting ready to be lapped twice in your own race. I liked how every time they cut to the Russian scenes too, they would just like play this like weird menacing like Russian music. So you just knew, you just knew that that's what they were talking about. Favorite part of Drive to Survive this season though was Gunther Steiner talking to one of the other Haas guys, and the Haas guys sounded kind of intimidated by Mazepin's dad. Like, well, he's an oligarch, and Gunther is like, he's not an oligarch, he's a fertilizer guy. He's just like, he's like, yeah, dude, there you go. But man, yeah, we'll see what happens with Haas. I think Aaron, you're right. I think they're not going to end. Will they be P5 in constructors? Probably not. Will they be 6 to 9? Maybe we'll see. Ferrari's got a huge advantage on the power units in the design. We can see the side pod similarities between the Ferrari and the Haas with the way they design their car. And they're looking good out of the gate. Will Mercedes catch up? Definitely. Will they catch up to the front of the pack? Will Mercedes be contending for wins by the end of the season? That's a question that I don't think anybody knows the answer to. I just know that you never underestimate a Mercedes engineer team to figure out a problem before the middle of the season, before Spa, something like that. James, you're what do you think? You're kind of smiling.
My stomach was rumbling so loudly. I was so worried. It's been rumbling throughout the last half an hour. Yeah. I was terrified it's ruined the podcast.
Oh, no. I thought you were just like, nah, beg to differ.
Oh, yeah, Mercedes, gotta hate him. Yeah. No, I mean, maybe this is a silly sort of appeal to history, but there's no way that Mercedes are not going to win a race this season. There's no way that Lewis Hamilton isn't going to win a race this season. I just can't see it, I think Lewis said at some point this week, and I think before the race, he said, we don't have the best car, but we have the best team. And I think that's what you're really going to see. Don't forget last season how superior that Red Bull was. Max, when we went to Austria, won by like 30 seconds. And then at the end of the season, that Red Bull couldn't get near him. I really think Mercedes, again, maybe not win the title, but they'll be a race-winning car this year. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, especially because even if they don't have a matching car on outright pace or race trim, there's still situations where the strategy goes wrong for the top teams. You'll have a Monza type situation where somehow something happens to the top teams and they can poke through. You saw it with McLaren last year because they had a car that was knocking on P3 constructor's door. I'm sorry, correct me real quick. What McLaren was P3 constructors last year?
Ferrari was.
Okay, yeah, Ferrari was, but they were knocking on P3 for constructors, so they were able to convert that to a win.
Lando Norris was P4 in the constructors.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Checo?
No, he said Lando basically is the constructors champion for McLaren.
Oh, Lando Norris, Lando Norris Mercedes Racing was okay. Yes.
Yeah.
You're speaking like Mercedes is deceased.
No,
they're not. They're gonna be back at the front of the pack, guys.
No,
if history tells you anything.
No, not this year. Not this year. They won't be. I'm calling it right now. They will not be contending. I do have a base right there, so that is that. No, we'll go back and forth on this throughout the season, which will be fun. But I don't see them outright contending for wins like they were last year. No. Do I think they'll win a race or two this season? Yes. Do I think they'll do it on outright pace at any of these tracks? Absolutely not. I don't know. There's something, I don't know. It's just a hunch. I don't even have anything to go off of other than I just kind of want to see them not do it for a year. So I just kind of want to, but we'll see.
I think it would be the ideal scenario. I think that they do everything they can to have Lewis win at Silverstone. win the championship. So he has literally every record. Then he retires. Then we see Pierre Gasly and what's that other guy that races for Mercedes name that's a total dud? I can't remember.
Greg Russell, something like that.
Greg Russell, yeah, something like that.
Greg Russell. Gerg LaRussa. Is that his name? Gerg LaRussa? You know what? Here, okay, yeah. Let me adjust my statement. I don't think they're going to be vying for a championship this year. I don't think that's going to be the case. Will they pull their car up to where they're contending to wins? Quite possibly. Yeah, I will give you that. And is that a better scenario for racing overall? Absolutely. And can you really second guess a Mercedes team to figure out aerodynamic issues or anything else going on with their car? Absolutely not, because those guys are, I don't know, they're basically just a bunch of Dr. Manhattans in a factory, just figuring it out, duplicating themselves, and then like working through holograms. And are they going to fix it in the next month or two? No, I think we're going to see a pretty rough month or two for them, but I think they will. They'll definitely come back at some point. Let's see here. What else we got? Red Bull's fuel system issue. We think that's going to be a problem for them the rest of the year. You think we're going to be struggling with that? You think that's something they'll be able to put a cap on? No pun intended.
Isolated incident.
Yeah.
Something that they're going to easily solve. I am here for Red Bull continuing to drop the car in the pit lane, though. I think that is just very funny.
I don't know why Drive to Survive needs to switch it up as far as like covering, just instead of just covering the drivers and stuff like that, cover the teams, cover the engineers. These are the guys.
They show them doing calisthenics in the pit lane.
Yeah, a little bit, but like the calisthenics with the Haas teams. But like, what's that NFL team? Man, I wish I could something the HBO series or Showtime series with the NFL where they follow a team around, and stuff like that. They go deeper into the organization, and that's what makes that show so captivating.
Well, they did it with McLaren a few years ago. It was the last year. It was whenever they had Stoffel Van Dorn and Alonso. It was called Grand Prix Driver. But you were seeing them prepare for the season. But the amount of like blurred imagery you saw in that show, because they would be inside the factory, and then like just entire swaths of the screen, you would just see like people's faces, and then everything else was blurred because they didn't want to give anything away. Yeah, which I don't know why anyone would want to steal from that GP2 car.
Yeah, just go deeper into the organizational structure of stuff. I think it's pretty fascinating, especially with a team like Ferrari. Carlos Sainz was on Beyond the Grid recently, and he was talking about how they take care of their drivers better than anyone else does. And it'd be fascinating to see how that organization works as far as their logistics and things like that, their engineers, the challenges they face with communication sometimes, the different teams or the different factions within the teams communicating. We saw a lot of those issues with Williams over the last few years. So yeah, man, cover the team, the organizations and engineers more. That would be super cool. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see if Ferrari can maintain. I think that's kind of the question. Can Ferrari keep this up throughout the entire season? Is this just like a burst right out of the gate, and then they're gonna basically kind of get caught up with the other teams? Remains to be seen. But I think that's the big question. Are they going to be able to maintain this with their organization the way it is? What do y'all think?
Well, I will definitely allude to what I think whenever we get to our predictions.
Yeah, there we go. We got some predictions. Let's talk before we get to those though. Let's talk about Valtteri Bottas for a second. Valtteri Bottas. Is it Bottas or I'm saying Bottas? That's the way they say it.
It's Valtteri Bottas.
Wait, does he say Bottas?
He says Bottas,
yes,
like
Bottas. That. Okay. Let's talk about this guy going to an Alfa Romeo, and then being pretty much up there on the grid with his Mercedes teammates this weekend. How satisfying does that have to be to go to another team like that and then still see your teammates pretty easily from your starting point on the grid? Come Sunday, see your old teammates. And also not to be understated is Zhou Guan Yu's performance as well as a rookie, doing kind of the same thing Yuki did at Bahrain last year. But man, he looked super good this weekend, really good this weekend. Even with Yuki's performance in Bahrain last year, Zhou wasn't making the same mistakes that Yuki was on the opening weekend. That dude was like cold blooded. So I think that guy is going to be a huge surprise. And we'll get to the predictions in the rest of the episode. But I feel like rookie of the year definitely. Wait, is he the only rookie?
I feel like you're going to go out on a limb and say he's going to get rookie.
Wait, he's the only rookie this year, huh?
I'm saying Magnussen rookie of the year, 100%.
That's why, yeah. Flawless prediction right there.
Bold prediction, yes.
Hulkenberg returning.
Hey, I mean, we might see Yuri Vips whenever Yuki eventually screws himself out of that AlphaTauri seat.
Man, I love that kid. I loved his little thing on Drive to Survive too. He just walked out of the room to get like a massage from their trainer. He's like, "Oh, that was a good poop." It's like, oh, I like this kid. I like him.
I love the kid.
No filter.
Bottas has to feel really justified in his ability coming out of this. Like I was really happy for him to qualify so well. The beginning of the race, I feel like he had some sort of issues because you don't just tumble like 8 positions on the opening lap for nothing. I mean, not even Valtteri Bottas does that.
No.
But like I feel like he had to come out of this situation feeling really good about himself. I don't know if this is actually true, but I saw on F1 Twitter, which is everyone knows is just complete facts at all times. Some people talking about how he WhatsApped Toto Wolff about qualifying P6.
In
and
what way?
It's good to be around you. It's good to be around you guys.
So predictions for the season, drivers, constructors. Let me just throw out my drivers. I'm going to go with my hopefuls. This is what I hope is going to go. The hope is, let's go with hope. Let's go with optimism and hope for these predictions, which is I think we're going to see Sainz. I'm going to say Sainz take the championship. All right. Wow. Sainz drivers championship, Leclerc second. And I think just out of logical, Verstappen third. That's Verstappen third. Sainz, Leclerc, Verstappen. My drivers' championship predictions for the end of the year.
Well, I think I'm going to go reverse there. I think I'm going to go Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz. I think Ferrari will win that constructors, but I think what will hold the drivers back is the two Ferrari drivers are too close to each other in ability that they will battle each other. Max really only has to race 18 cars because Checo is so inferior that he helps him out. But I don't think Sainz and Leclerc are in that position where they can help each other out.
Do you think there's? I don't think there's any tension between them though.
No. Just healthy competitivism. Competitivism. That's not a word.
Competitive competition. Yeah. You're probably that's probably the prediction that's going to be right. I'm way off. I'm just throwing. This is I'm just going with hope and optimism. All right, for my idealism, if you will. Aaron, what do you got?
Well, I actually am going to have to agree with both of you. And I guess we're all doing the same drivers, just in different orders. I think it's going to be Sainz first, Verstappen, and then Leclerc. I think that Sainz is going to find himself in the situation where he's probably not contending for wins every weekend, but he is going to steadily finish second or third, and he's going to have the most boring World Driver Championship title of all time.
That's essentially my strategy in my league. My F1 league is to consistently be P9 every race, Mr. P9, and eventually I find myself with the most points. And then I move up to Division 1, and then I'll be Mr. P15 every race. So, I think it's a good strategy. Be P2 every race, Mr. P2, Mr. Shake and Bake, Mr. Magic Man from Talladega Nights, and then bada boom, bada bing, find yourself with the Drivers' Championship. I think that was going to be my original prediction was Verstappen third or Verstappen second, but I want to see him third this season for whatever reason. Constructors champions.
I feel like we're going to be unanimous on this one.
I think it's hard not to say that it's going to be Ferrari,
Alfa Romeo. Yeah, Alfa Romeo.
and Valtteri scoring all the points. Guan Yu Zhou's got his only point of the season now, and it's just
all right. Obviously, constructors championships this year. Constructors champions Aston Martin. Okay, obviously. Obviously, I mean, we all know what we're looking at when we see it. All right. So Aston Martin, Haas, second, and Williams third, and that's how it's going to go. No,
but realistically, we're all we're all pretty much saying it's going to be Ferrari.
Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. Yeah, I think Mercedes going to be 3.
I think by the end of the season, it won't be so defined a top 2. I think by the end of the season, Mercedes will have enough performance to be close. But I think they are so far off at the moment that unless by the time we get to Europe, they are the best car on the grid, it's too late already.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the old boring 2022 constructors for the new cars. Just a boring old constructors championship for 2022. Exciting season, boring constructors. We know it's going to happen. So, actually that would have been the one good one to make before the race. Cause like I would have said, but like pre-race, I would have said McLaren, like pre-Bahrain, pre-testing, I would have said McLaren, P3 constructors easily. And then you're just watching them just like, oh no. I wanted to see 4 teams up front. Like I wanted to see 4 teams just nail it out of the gate and be like 4 teams vying for the front.
To completely change the subject just really quickly, do you think that perhaps Google is regretting not signing a sponsorship deal with Haas at this point?
Oh man, I saw a tweet. Yeah. I saw a tweet that said they're gonna put an incognito window icon on their windows.
Google requested that they run an incognito livery for the next race.
They were more like in the Internet Explorer last race rather than Chrome, I think.
They actually do that for their cars, and then they finish the race, and they're like, "Oh, our data wasn't saved because it was incognito mode." So, oh man, we suck again. Okay, so. Outlandish predictions this season. What do we got for like weird predictions? And
I would like to have like a moment of silence for what I thought was going to be the best outlandish prediction. And that was how many combined laps down Nikita Mazepin was going to finish this season.
Moment of silence.
Well, he finished no laps down. Let's give him some props for that. Well done, Nikita.
Yeah. Great job, man. I'm so proud. So proud, his dad's got to be proud too, Yeah.
Do you guys think that Yuki is going to finish this season at AlphaTauri?
Yeah, I think he will.
Yes.
I think he's gonna make some big improvements, and partially I'm saying that just because I love him so much. So again, going with the hope and idealism. But yeah, I think he'll come through. I think he'll score some points. Is he going to be anywhere near Gasly? No, but. Gasly's not going to be there next year anyway. That's my prediction.
Wow.
Where's he going to be?
Where's he going to be?
I don't know. I just think he's going to move on to another team. I think he's too good to stay at AlphaTauri. I think he's too good of a driver. I think if there's any openings at any other teams that are going to offer a step up in any sort of way, or a project for him that would be more challenging, I think he's going to take it. Unless he's just too happy there. Unless he's just like, hey, I got my AlphaTauri seat and I'm super happy because they give us clothes. Which he might, because he's so French, So, but like, I don't know if he's just gonna be happy there another year, unless he signed a contract that I'm not aware of.
His contract's up at the end of the year.
Boom.
And he will be a Mercedes driver. Don't worry.
Okay. Girk McLarusa is not going to be there next year. Seth MacFarlane's Girk LaRussa.
Yeah, the guy with the bags under his eyes. I can't ever remember his name.
Yeah.
The skinny one.
I think it's really easy for him to be portrayed. I don't think he's arrogant. I think he's just a very, very confident Englishman. Also, he's a Formula One driver. So like, what else are you supposed to be? You're one of the top 20 drivers in the world making millions of dollars. You're 23 years old. But I love the part in Drive to Survive. It's like, yeah, it's just all part of the job, He's sitting there with his girlfriend on a skyscraper restaurant, like Wolf of Wall Street. Like, yeah, it's the fame. It just comes with it, It's just like
How many teams do you guys think score a podium this year?
8.
8 teams.
I think a lot. So that's on the back of my outlandish prediction, which, if you'd said this last week, it would have been a very boring prediction, is that McLaren are going to finish 4th. I think something went wrong this weekend. Something very strange went wrong, because they were good in Barcelona. They were really good in Barcelona. they looked okay in testing. They didn't look terrible. And to just have that utter lack of pace in the car, like I said, something's up. And I think if you look at the cars competing, Alpine, I guess Alpine could be a big threat to them, but Haas, surely you're not going to keep this up. Alfa Romeo, surely you're not going to keep this up. And McLaren have, by some way, the best infrastructure of that lower midfield team.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Let's put a pin on that and come back to that real quick, because I do want to do the podium thing real quick. Because
I guess, question.
You're fine. You're fine. We'll put a pin in it. Let's circle back to it. Okay. But as far as the podiums go, I guess I got to think of that in the reverse engineering aspect and go backwards and think who's not going to score a podium this year. I don't see Williams scoring a podium this year. I don't see Aston Martin scoring a podium this year, sadly, because I wanted them to be good. And I want to say I don't see Haas scoring a podium either. I think they're going to be performing a lot better than they were last year, which isn't a high bar to cross. But so, yeah, I'm going to go with 7. Wait, actually, I'm going to go. I don't think McLaren's going to do it either. I think I'm going to go with 6 teams not scoring a podium this year. Or I'm sorry, 4. Wait, was the question scoring podiums or not scoring podiums?
I mean, there's a finite number, so it doesn't matter.
I guess you could say it either way. Teams to score a podium this year will be 6. Yeah, it'll be the remaining 6. But McLaren, Haas, Aston Martin, and Williams, I don't see them scoring podiums at all. No.
I'm going 8 too. I'm going 8. I think the only teams that don't are going to be Williams and Aston Martin, unfortunately. I also think that's going to lead to Seb bowing out.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, I think if they don't pull it around, the thing about McLaren and the things they do have working on them are on their sides as far as being the 2 works teams that aren't performing well out of the gate for Bahrain is, James, what you touched on. They do have the infrastructure to course correct a lot better than Alfa Romeo and Haas have the infrastructure to maintain their performance this weekend. I think definitely that's going to, because teams like elite teams like Mercedes and things like that, they take years to develop, and it's not a coincidence that team is able to do what they're able to do. I mean, they've built it over so many years. Red Bull too. I mean, those teams at the top, Ferrari, they've been in the sport since it was invented. So there's a reason those teams are at the top constantly. And yeah, will Alfa Romeo and Haas perform this year? Yes. Will it be better than they did last year? Yes. But the teams most likely to turn it around are probably going to be Aston and McLaren, which leads me, let me throw an audible here. Seeing this weekend's performance, who's going to be able to turn around the best from their poor performance? Is it going to be Williams? Is it going to be McLaren, or is it going to be Aston Martin?
I have the most faith in McLaren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't go from to call them race winning, I guess that might be a little bit lucky, but a car that was consistently fast enough to get a podium on some weekends to being the worst car, that just doesn't happen, particularly with the money of McLaren, with the experiences like Brown, with the quality of Norris and Ricciardo. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they are one of the few teams to do that certain suspension, right? It was a push rod suspension on the rear. They were like one of the few teams to do a certain suspension setup. It was
them and Red Bull. They did the inverse of what they did previously. I want to say that it's pull rod up front and push rod in back.
Okay, and then, so McLaren's doing the same thing, correct?
If I'm not mistaken, which I very well could be.
Okay, so going off of that, if we're not wrong on that, McLaren's the only team to have that rear suspension change that doesn't have the benefit of the rear suspension design of Red Bull, which is a pretty solid one. And I think
unless it's dropped in the pit lane.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless the rear jackman just drop it again. So maybe that's going to be their challenge. Do we know yet? We'd have to do some reading, but do we know yet if that was the issue with their performances this weekend with their brakes and stuff like that? I wonder if those things are connected, just thinking out loud.
They have about 15 million issues at McLaren, and all of them are dollars paid to Daniel Ricciardo.
Yes. Man, he's gonna. Are we gonna see him just break down this season? That's another. Let's do this.
Like on the side of the track, or like metaphorically and emotionally,
physically, existentially. Like, are we gonna see a Daniel Ricciardo existential breakdown before the end of the season? Are we gonna see him crying in agony? Is the facade of jolly humor going to melt away and reveal a desolate, desperate Daniel Ricciardo crying in the fetal position next to his car after a poor qualifying on some Sunday?
It depends Saturday. Where Renault, if Renault finishes ahead of them like halfway through the season, probably.
The guy's got to be the worst potential recruiter of all time. I know no one that's made more poor career decisions than Daniel Ricciardo, honestly. I think half the people that ended up working for Starlin and got killed made better career decisions than Daniel Ricciardo did.
I never understood why he left Red Bull. I never understood. I understood the need. I understood the feeling of wanting to kind of take charge of your own career. But I feel like there's plenty of ways to do that while still staying on one of the top teams on the grid. I don't know why that was ever done. I mean, the dude came off of like multiple wins that season and then was like, you know what? I'm out. And it's like, whoa, dude. Like, okay. Okay, knock yourself out. And then, so I don't know. I think the reasons for him leaving were strange too. I think he wanted like a more relaxed atmosphere. I don't know. I guess I don't drive for Red Bull, but I hear it's a pretty crazy organization to work for and to drive for. Sainz articulated that as well on that Beyond the Grid episode lately, where he was talking about driving for Red Bull's, Toro Rosso and things like that, and it being just a crazy cutthroat experience. So maybe that drove him away, but yeah, it hasn't looked like it's, reaped any rewards as of right now. So
yeah, it's I mean, the mysteries of the Red Bull, it's a bit like Area 51. We'll never know what happens behind the scenes at the Red Bull Driver Academy, the Red Bull number 2 seat.
Yeah.
It seems like once you're gone, once Helmet stops loving you, you're finished.
Any more outlandish predictions before we move on to our Jeddah podium?
I think that McLaren is going to do poorly this year, but I think that Ricciardo is going to outscore Norris.
Ooh.
Wait, what? You say Ricciardo's going to outscore Norris?
Yes.
What? Okay. Why? Tell me.
You said you wanted another outlandish prediction.
Okay, that's just your outlandish. But you're okay. You're just like
I think that they're on. Like I do believe that Ricciardo's a good driver. I just think that like he's had some really unfortunate. He's made terrible decisions. He's just moved into places and has left before. Granted, like Alpine Renault is just perpetually a mess, I guess.
Yeah,
because it doesn't seem like there's very much stability there. McLaren seems like a much better situation. For
I don't know, man. I mean, Alpine looks good this year, though. I mean, they were kind of the silent winners of this weekend. They performed pretty well. They don't seem to have any reliability issues, which might be a huge advantage this season. I mean, I feel like it's a game of like, if you built the most reliable car this season, you already gave yourself a leg up. So I don't know, man. I think they've made some huge improvements. At least since 2019 too. So we'll see. So yeah.
P6 in the Drivers' Championship will be Esteban Ocon.
P6?
He's been waiting for a breakout season.
Yeah.
And he was up against Fernando Alonso last season. Yeah. And he got beat, but I didn't think he was terrible at all. I've just got a feeling that Russell's going to struggle through his fault or someone else's. Yeah. And Esteban Ocon P6. I think Alpine could do very well this season. Very well.
I think they can too. I think that's a team that's going to surprise a lot of people this year. It's weird seeing a pink team too that's not Racing Point. You know what I'm saying?
Esteban Ocon back at Racing Point.
Yeah, it's just weird seeing a Pepto-Bismol car that's not Racing Point, and so it messes with your head. You're like, oh, this isn't Racing Point. So. Man, do I have any more outlandish predictions? I think Bottas is going to win a race this year.
That's not an outlandish prediction.
No, it is though, because he's in an Alfa Romeo. He's in an alpha.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win Canada in front, and I'm gonna be there. And we're
You
gonna
are going
gonna make eye contact, and he's gonna invite me to come celebrate with him because I'm his biggest fan.
Yeah. Is he just going to know through the eye contact?
Yes.
I think if you make eye contact, hold up a cup of coffee. Have a cup of coffee in your hand and be ready for the eye contact, and make it somewhere where like y'all are. It's like within 10 feet, and then you hold the coffee up and you look, and then telepathically you say, "You are the wolf," and then and then he'll know telepathically through the coffee that you deserve to party with him.
Here's another outlandish prediction, and this one actually breaks my heart. Like, I feel like we're not very far away from a live, laugh, love helmet design from Bottas.
No, better with live, laugh, love. 100%.
Bottas's girlfriend designing his helmets, like the one for Brazil was woof.
Oh man, so cool. Oh man, she looks. Man, she's like a nervous Nicole Kidman on that Drive to Survive scene. Where they're just like talking in the trailer, and she's just like, it looks like she's on the brink of crying or something. She's like, well, this is how it goes. And then she's just like about to cry. And you're just like, you are so nervous in front of this camera. We don't need those weird scripted moments where you're talking about, like we don't need this isn't like This Is Us on NBC. Like we don't need the intimate. You could use that time to go talk to the engineers and show us badass engineer stuff. Go do that instead. I don't care about the chats and the trailers between girls. What is this? The Bachelor? What's going on? I don't need.
We have to humanize these characters.
They are robots driving cars 200 miles an hour. I don't care if they're humans. Okay.
Yes.
So
robots with magic hairlines.
So yeah. Okay. So yeah, we got our predictions in, outlandish predictions in. We'll see what happens. By the end of the year, we'll do an end of the year prediction episode. Real quick, Jeddah predictions poll, and then 1, 2, 3. Jeddah poll, I'm gonna go Verstappen, and 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna go Verstappen. I'm gonna go Verstappen, and then Leclerc, and then I'm gonna go George Russell. I'm gonna throw Russell P3. One thing that they did say about the Mercedes car is that it's good in fast corners. Saudi has a lot of fast corners, so interested to see what the Mercedes does on this track. Because this is basically just a tunnel of speed through the entire thing. Y'all drive it on the game, right? It's like easily the funnest track on the game to drive.
It's apparently faster than it was last year now after the changes.
Let's go, dude. So yeah, Verstappen pole, Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, 1, 2, 3. Aaron, what do you think?
I think we're going to see Leclerc on pole. I don't want Leclerc to be on pole, but I think Leclerc is going to get pole. I think the podium is going to be a little bit mixed up. I'm going to say that it's going to be a Sainz, Hamilton, Ocon podium.
Wow. Okay. Sainz, Hamilton, Ocon.
I think that we're going to get some carnage in this race.
James, Jeddah, pole, 1, 2, 3. What do you think?
I'm going to go the old duo, Max Lewis. Leclerc, I think. I think Lewis has got something in him. It ain't over till it's over.
Verham Lek, 1, 2, 3. What about pole?
Yeah, Max again. I think Lewis is going to qualify like 5th or 6th and have like a mega defensive drive.
We'll see. I'm interested to see what the Merc cars do at the more tracks we go to. I just want to see how this plays out. Will they be able to pull it up? And what's going to happen throughout the rest of the season? Anyway, so we've got our predictions in, and we've got a good season ahead of us. 23 races, I guess 22 at this point. If you're watching this podcast, be sure to hit us at all the socials, things like that. We've got some cool content planned for the rest of the season. We've got some gaming content as well, some gaming chat to come throughout the season. Aaron needs to get a PlayStation. So I guess we'll wait for Aaron to get a PlayStation at some point. So
we'll wait for PlayStations to become available.
So no, you can get them now. All right. You're just not trying hard enough. All right. So
you got to know the right people.
Yeah. So we're going to do some gaming content. We are going to have some more episodes. Everything that you see as far as socials, show notes, links to articles and things like that will be in the show notes, rather, of this episode. So be sure to like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, go ahead and follow us, things of that nature. And if you're on Google Play, go ahead and just like die, because nobody uses Google Play. So, so anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. James, Aaron, thanks for joining me on this adventure.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Hambot Veripodium.
Yeah.
One more time.
R.I.P. It's the era of Chuck. It's the era of Chuck Leclerc. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.